evening. Yeah. It is 6:15. Board meeting here on Wednesday the 28th. Public input. Anybody sitting in the audience or standing? Have any comments, anything to say? Okay. Item C, minutes of the 12/17 board meeting. Motion, anyone to
Make a motion to accept.
second? Any comment, any questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes of the 12/17/14 Finance Committee.
Ray, would you like to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept.
I will second this, everyone in the member can.
Any comments? All those in favor, okay, sorry, Joe.
No, all in favor?
I'm sorry,
say aye.
Okay. Two comments?
No, not until the January 14th.
Okay, so we're all set. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye. I said that wrong. Accept the minutes.
There's only two of them.
There's only two of them.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah,
We'll say minutes.
Let's move on, yeah.
Okay. I think
He
we're allowed
moved
to
it,
vote on
I
that.
seconded it, so.
But I think we're allowed to vote on that. January 14th, special board meeting. Let's see. Motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
So, discussion?
Discussion, comments?
Yeah, I sent an email. Pam, I wanted to, under the motion, on the first page, under the motion where it says approve a rate increase of 3.25, I had asked for amending of the minute to insert something that I had mentioned at the meeting that isn't in the minutes. And it was something that I brought up and I thought it would be relevant to put it in, so I'd like to insert after where it said motion, approve rate. During that discussion, Director Palmieri stated that some O&M estimates seem high based on present expenditures, and a lower rate increase would be more appropriate.
O&M estimates seem high. Is that what you're saying?
Right, O&M estimates seem high based on present expenditures, and a lower rate increase would be more appropriate. I can give that to you. I'll give that to you, see if you want. I have it somewhere.
We did the other, just
You
need
did
to
that?
have approved with them.
I move the acceptance of the minutes as amended.
That's your only
That's the only one.
second? Okay, discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. And January 14th, public hearing.
Move the minutes be accepted as amended.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. So moved. Item D, Executive Director's Report.
Okay, in general, our production numbers are pretty consistent with last year's, so we're pretty much on target. We're still seeing some little bit of conservation issues, but which we have plugged into our existing budget as well, so we're in fairly good shape right now. Barrington and Central Bridges. just got some information that the pipeline has been installed on the central bridge, and they're asking us to inspect it. The only problem is it's all been insulated and covered, so there's not much inspection that we can do. We'll be asking for their records of installation by their inspectors on site, and then they'll have to pressure test the main before it can be installed, completed. And if you've got something to add?
Well, just to clarify, this isn't the Warren Bridge that we had the trouble with, this is the Barrington, the new installation.
Right.
The one they're building. The new bridge they're building?
Excuse me?
The one that they're building?
Yes.
Did they go too far?
That was the one where we had shown pictures a few months ago about they were trying to pull it through the rollers and damage the insulation. I guess they haven't said at this point, but we haven't seen it yet. So we'll be doing a little more investigation before we approve the installation.
What's the official name of that bridge?
Central Bridge.
Central?
Yes.
I knew it wasn't.
I always used to call it the White Church Bridge.
Yeah.
I think that's what
That's not the
everybody
official
knows.
name.
Yeah, everybody knows it.
You think of the one church as the central church, the New York City.
Did the workers go too far in that bridge?
Well, they didn't notify us while they were installing it, so we're not too happy with them at the moment.
Okay.
But, so we'll have to do a little more investigation before we can approve for them to go any further.
Now, is that something that you can do during?
Not right now.
No, so it's
So
going to be
the weather
springtime.
improves a bit.
Okay.
Will you do that? Will you take the installation off?
If there's any questions, we'll have to get, you could have them do that, especially on the joints.
Is
The
that-
joints are supposed to be set at a certain distance.
Is that easy to do that?
No.
That's what I thought.
So this is something that'll be done at their own time and expense.
It may have been done by the inspection process, we don't know that. If they can show documentation, if they have manufacturer's rep out there verifying something, that may be, you know, it's,
But we have our own test. You have your own test to do, or
Well,
something.
at some point, it'll have to be pressure tested
Okay.
anyway before it's put in service. But we want some sort of assurance that, some documentation that it was installed according to the manufacturer's specifications.
Currently take upgrades?
We did negotiate with our single vendor, bidder, for the installation of some of the equipment in the tank, so we'll be requesting the board to approve that for next month. So I think we're ready to move forward on that.
Can I ask, why do you only get one bid? Is there something that's that special, or why would no other contractors want to touch the job?
Well, there were a lot of small pieces to the project, and from what we understand, a number of them were afraid that they would only be awarded one small portion of it. So they didn't feel that it was something they wanted to tackle at this point in time. We broke it down to, with the one bidder, he did have it all itemized, and we're going to be doing some of the work we're going to, small portions of it we can bid out, we're going to bid out separately. It's just like installing the circulating pipes on top of the tank. He didn't want to do that type of thing. But we can hire that out to a separate contractor.
Isn't that probably the more difficult part of the project? You put that
It's-
in mind?
No, this is an external one. It's very easy to do. There's just, you have to find a contractor that's willing to climb the tank. That's what the issues are, because it's a 90-foot tank. The work this vendor will be doing is inside the tank. So we're getting there. The Anawan Dam, they were supposed to be installing the gates this week. Obviously, that's not getting done, so we'll be putting that off until the weather's a little more conducive.
You're going to have a problem lowering the level of the reservoir?
No. The problem is installing the gates in the reservoir and keeping the concrete heated so they can get all of that set. They have procedures for doing it, but in this, obviously with all the snow we've got right now, it's going to delay
It's not gonna
them a
be
bit.
better. It's the more stuff.
Just a little.
What time is
Hopefully
that
no more
dam?
big
Is it
snowstorms.
Seacon, Swansea, or Rehoboth?
It's in Rehoboth. And then we just have the engineering reports and the MIS reports. If you have any other questions?
I have a question on sewer report.
Ray, if I could just ask one more question. The projects in design. When do you anticipate, when you have the design and work being started?
As we were looking to go out to bid next month
Okay.
for these projects, so we're looking for summer construction.
Okay. All four of these?
All will be done this year.
Along that line, same thing on the project. Under the Market Street one, where it says main replacement,
Yes,
Water Street to Ashland Street,
yes.
so they're actually going on Miller Street? How do you go from Water to Ashland?
Oh, that's just going across Maine. Oh, I'm sorry, Ashland is up to Ashland. We have actually new pipe going past there, from Ashland up Market.
Well, how does Water Street come into play here? Is it coming from Water Street?
From Water Street,
And then it has to go up Miller Street.
Miller Street, I think
Miller.
it's not Miller.
Is that correct? So it does go up Miller Street, crosses Main,
right,
goes down Child to Ashland.
right.
Okay.
It just changes names, so I didn't include the change
Yeah,
name.
okay, I just wanted to make sure it included Miller Street.
Right.
I did have a couple of questions on the engineering report. First of all, on top of sport, it says, the asterisk over there, inspection for topper squash was high because the project went well past expected construction period. My question about that is if this extra cost was because of going beyond the construction period, would the contractor be responsible for that extra cost? Because they didn't meet the deadline?
That is why we're negotiating for liquidated damages.
So that part of what we're negotiating with the construction company?
We're not so much negotiating as now we are,
Legal?
and we will most likely be legal for the liquidated damages.
I had a question for that one as well, because you said we budgeted 546 and spent 516. That little 30,000, does that remain with us, or does Bristol going to claim some of that?
No, that remains with us, and actually, some of that was to cover some of the financial fees too with the bonding. But that, our portion was set on what the bid prices were, and where we expected those to come out. And as we said, we've gotten some additional expenses because of the engineering costs, with this taking so much longer than it did. So it'll all be, actually, it'll all be proportional.
So we're still holding the 30 some odd thousand that we talked about earlier this month?
Yes.
Are they looking for that?
They were looking to close out the project, and there were some issues with the bill that they did submit that we had to resolve as well. So we will be withholding retainage, work that needs to be done, landscaping work that needs to be completed in the spring, and the $18,000 in liquidated damages.
Any other questions on this matter?
Joe, as long as we have some kind of legal thing going on with them, does that give us any leverage on any future bids while it's pending? Or is still, that's a question. I mean, we can't just say, oh, we're in call with them, we can't take their bid.
I don't think you necessarily definitely say you couldn't take their bid, but You know, it might have some impact.
It's up to us.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't just say it's automatic because we're,
Right.
okay.
We have to have a good foundation as to why we wouldn't accept it.
Mhm.
And if we're in current litigation at the time, that would be,
But if we're current litigation, it would behoove us to be extra critical in order to find any shortcomings. And if you spend enough time looking at something, you might find a shortcoming.
Discussion for another time.
They'll put it in under another name anyway. They'll just get it under another name.
Okay, to our favorite segment, financial report.
Who waits actually here?
We're gonna get a theme song.
Oh, he's only got two papers, holy.
Everybody can see his face.
Everybody,
He doesn't want to be seen.
I emailed everybody a copy today, but it went out this morning. Our email, our internet was down, and it was scanned differently. Now Ray had a problem opening it up. I don't know if anybody else opened it up. I didn't, but you opened it up?
did I open it today? No, I didn't.
No. It was in an Adobe PDF format, but I may not have recognized. You have a hard copy now, so I'm really wrong. You're all set. I wanted to get that out Monday, but we didn't get it out, and yesterday we couldn't, so. No surprises for the month. Basically, we're continually right on track. Let's see, through December, we're at 3% over budget on revenues, 3% over budget. Expenses are 5.4% under budget, which is good news on both accounts. And the dollars billed, we know we're on target because our amount of water that was billed is within 0.3% of last year. So revenue is up 3.74%. That's our 4% rate increase from last year to offset that. So we know that's a good number. And our debt service number hit exactly 2, which is again good news. It's like having a high credit rating personally, so that works out good.
Is that the highest it's been, as far as you know?
I don't think we've had it. It always used to be between 1.25 and 1.5, I think.
I think that's what,
But part of it is building the reserves and helps us. It helped when we went for the private bond this year, which is in a different class. And you all got the quarterly pension report, which we're on the bond end, we outperformed the benchmark just about by double, and then we were slightly under 0.2% under on the benchmark of the equity, so very close to the benchmark.
Excuse me, that's for, what period is that for?
That's the pension
Yeah,
year.
but that's not a full year, that's
That's the first 6 months of the pension.
for 6 months. Yeah.
So that's through the second quarter. Okay, we'll see. I know yesterday the market took a big hit. So we'll see. Just no stuff.
I know. It's very volatile, the market in general.
So other than that, we do have, budget-wise to actual, we'll probably have in the last 2 months a lot of expenses, especially like we have $100,000 for some more dam, the dam work at the dam.
there you go.
That we expect to pay before the end of February. There's also some money held up in some of our, what we call A orders or capital orders that are really going to be expensed. So that's going to pump back in there. So that the amount in the expense category might increase more in the next couple of months than normal to bring us more in line with budget for the total year. So we're 5% under, so we'll probably move it up to 2 or 3% under. So,
But still be under.
still good.
But that would be a one-time hit as opposed to
Yeah.
an ongoing structural situation.
Right. Part of it is, you know, when you pay $100,000, you try to hit it in the month that you've got the budget, that type of deal.
And it's the
So
difficulty.
I've got it in February right now, but it's January, now you move that to,
Aging infrastructure.
right.
I'd like to make one comment on that first point, and since we're talking about it. The 5.4% of the budget, which is very good, and I would like everyone to be aware that that's going to be a continuing trend, that because of the good work of management, all right, the expenses are going to continually, unless you adjust your budgets, are going to go down because tight controls and the employee contract for the newer employees. It's going to be an ongoing trend, which is a very good thing. It's all good decisions. But that 5.4, excluding one-time payments for things that are not structural, year after year, you will continue to see that improve. And that's part of what I was doing in my discussion
And
last
then,
meeting.
you know, if we're down 5, which means we're 95% of budget, which looks at it a little different, half full, half empty, but you know, part of it too is a budget is kind of like a ceiling you can't go above, kind of. So it's not that you do want to try to get that under as best we can. So, but we managed to do that with different years, different things, and so in this coming year there may be things. You know, when you set the budget, it could be 6 months or a year after you set that budget that you've got expenses or ways to save money that you weren't aware of at the time.
No one has a crystal ball.
So,
There's always the
we'll-
unexpected.
So other than that, all the everything else, if there's any questions, but
I always have the same question about the revenue. We assume that we're losing revenue because, we know it's because consumption is down. But we never could find out any way of determining why it's down. The fact that, is it related to people actually saving water, or is it related to business moving out, or people moving out, or, there's no way of knowing that, is there?
Not specifically, it's really a combination of factors, and considering all water utilities have been dealing with the same issues, we're right around the same 15% decrease in the last 10 years. It's due to water conservation appliances, I think are a really big factor. And in Rhode Island in particular is the loss of business. We've really seen a lot of business leave the state.
And population.
And
Yeah, well,
population.
And
But the business, you can tell just in the area here, there's not much left for commercial properties, and especially industry, which used to be the high-end users of water and used to support the rest of the system. Most of those are gone. We don't have any large meter customers now except the college. It's certainly just more of a residential issue, not an industrial one, where they're actually using water for production. And I saw it really significantly when I was in Pawtucket, when we lost a lot of the large mills. And those had significant impacts on the amount of water being used in the system.
So it might be safe to say that it's less a factor of people saving, water saving appliances, as it is the
Not
economy.
necessarily. Every fixture anybody buys today reduces amount.
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm
The
saying
house
it's,
in town, you open the faucet, it ran, now it's all, you put a new fixture in,
It's basically a combination
It's a
of
big
factors.
It's akin to the mileage. What was the average mileage in a car 15 years ago? 20 miles a gallon. Now you have to factor in Teslas and Priuses and all those other hybrids. And overall, there's better mileage, reduces oil consumption, and that goes into why the Saudis are trying to maintain share. It is not just the one factor. Business could be a big factor. Rhode Island is suffering a population loss is another factor, and the units. Every time somebody puts in a new toilet that uses a third or fourth of the amount of water, and there's nobody putting in toilets that use twice as much water.
not to be a dead horse, but if you, Couldn't you see that in the customer's usage? I mean, residential customers' usage. Couldn't we see, is there no way for us to see that or track that?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Not that it's, maybe
Tremendous amount of man hours and it would
maybe
be-
it's not that important.
Catch 22, we're trying to, we gonna have to sell water to make money, and yet we're telling people to consider it at the same time.
And we're now getting to the point where we're having water quality issues because the water's sitting in the pipes for a longer period of time. So instead of people paying for the water that they use, they're now also paying for the water to be flushed out of the system to maintain the water quality. So it's become a real catch-22.
Thank you. It's not, there's no answer, right?
It's
not your
a variety.
It's not your fault.
You try.
Joe's on the answer.
We've heard
Because it's,
He's gonna get some
a
sales.
lot of historical information which we don't have to.
Yeah.
To make a comparison.
And you'd be able to, if you put in enough man hours, you could determine how much each of those factors, but it wouldn't change the facts, and it wouldn't justify the man hours.
And I think it's just like I said, a combination of all
Well,
these
it's
things.
everything, it's everything, it's small families, so there's kids aren't in the shower so long, all those things happen.
My grandson.
But the interesting thing is that the consumption is still only about 2/3 of what it is in the rest of the country. In Rhode Island, they just consider a lot more water, I think.
I think it hit
It's
hard.
about 60 to 70 nationwide.
Bristol County is higher than the rest, that's a big.
It is.
We use less water.
Use less water. We're one of the lowest in the state
Per capita.
per capita.
Mark? Very good. Item F, request for abatement, Warren Little. Everybody should have a copy of the EM's report and also a letter from Mr. Kalenda. Warren Little present.
Mr. Kalenda had intended to come to the meeting, so I just wanted to make a note of that. This is an abatement request we've gotten again from Warren Little League. I think I did outline here in our policies that we generally only allow one per customer in the lifetime of the service.
What were the other ones for? Anybody really know? Was it leaks? Was it?
I can answer that, John. There was one in 2005 for frozen pipe, another one in 2010 for an irrigation leak, and another one in 2008 because we found the water meter on when it should not have been on, and we had to bill additional usage, and it was a lot of usage, and we decided to bill it at the lower rate just so they would.
What was the irrigation?
The irrigation leak occurred in October 2010. It was a new irrigation system that was installed and leaked out.
Joe, what about the water meter being on? Was that
Yeah, that was,
something we did or didn't do?
no, that was, we found that on as a result of installing a new meter. We went out to install a new meter. At that time, we were replacing meters, and it was an easy meter to access because it was located in a pit. When we went to install the new meter, we removed the old meter and realized there was additional consumption on the meter, which should not have been on the meter because we never turned the water service on. So the water service was found on when it should have been off.
See, I'm one of those people that would say, give the Little League water free. But we can't give it to them free if they're not gonna at least cooperate and shut the meter off.
That's why
They
it's
can't
a
give
question.
it, if they don't follow their obligation, and they don't even take the flag down all year for the house, they leave it.
Personally, after I read this, you know, it's a great organization, but it doesn't seem like anybody's watching the store. I would say that unless Mr. Kalender or the board comes to the water authority with some sort of procedures that, or how they're gonna monitor this or correct this problem. I mean, they should present something to us to saying, okay, we're gonna take an effort, and this is what we will do in the future. Until that, I don't think we could, vote to approve any abatement. We'll see some action on that.
What was the cause this time?
They had a major malfunction of a ball valve. I believe it's in the snack shack, which also houses the public restroom. The valve failed, and it was leaking probably for an excess of 30 days.
And is this after meter should have been shut off?
It occurred in December, and we never got a call to shut the service off.
Yeah, that's, I was gonna say that, I'm not sure if Mr. Calendar is aware of the information you gave us about the previous problem. And
He is aware that we gave abatements 3 times in the past because I spoke to him about it.
And is there supposedly a system in place where they know what their responsibilities are? It starts here, it ends here, or no?
What the trouble is,
I'm not aware.
Bill, is they change offices.
No, I
And
understand.
the new guy comes in, he doesn't tell them anything, or he doesn't think, they don't think anything of it. They go home, they don't have to call you to shut the meter off, seasonal, so they don't really think of it.
shut it off before from that.
Well,
Sometimes.
unless we ought to put it, can we make a set date that we say we're coming down and shutting it off?
Well, I asked that question, and one of his response was that they have a lot of tournaments in the fall now, and it extends into sometimes October, November, which I wasn't aware of, and we would have no knowledge of when these tournaments are held. But someone needs to be responsible for calling service when the service needs to be turned on, and for terminating the service when it needs to be turned off after their fall leagues are
They've
done.
never had any trouble with the field up at Hugh Cole, because the town must call and say, shut it off.
It's
But
been
this is a private field, this is their jurisdiction.
it's been a recurring issue with this particular association. I can't tell you why it has been, just the history of our service orders tells us that it's been an issue.
Again, I think that we should send them a letter officially, Mr. Calendar, tell them unless they develop some procedures where they identify the people that are going to be responsible for doing what they need to do to prevent this from happening, then we shouldn't take any action on it.
Yeah, well, ask them to come in.
Because 2 of these are frozen pipes in December, I see in your service order.
They're not having any tournaments in December.
Why can't you just, they're not, I mean, that's the responsibility, is to call and shut off the pipes.
I'm gonna stick my foot in that way, and I don't know the Warren League, but I've had experience with the sports leagues in Barrington, and it certainly could be a different animal. But the ones in Barrington are well endowed, well funded, have money in the bank. I don't know if Warren is different, so I can't.
So Barrington, they all play on town fields.
They do play, not all, but the
This is a
St. Andrews has fields that they play on.
But that's owned by the school.
But no, St. Andrews lets the Little League use the field, so it isn't all town-owned field.
No, but I mean, the school owns the field.
St. Andrews is a private institution.
Right, but they own, they're responsible for whatever happens.
Right.
See, this is not the case. This
But
is a private field.
what happens in Barrington is not only don't they ask for abatements, they contribute money towards.
See, I was the president of the Warren Little League. The St. Mary's Church owns the league, the field, but the league uses it,
Right.
and they're responsible for it.
When they have a tournament, there's fees charged, and they need to adjust their fee structure.
So you're saying the league is responsible for making sure that the irrigation is
Yeah,
working?
everything. But they're
Snack
responsible for the
bar.
whole, they're responsible for the whole park.
Nobody else, there's nobody else.
Nobody else. They're responsible for it.
When you've got an organization, even if it's a nonprofit, and they've got tournaments that are generating revenue, they have to operate as a de facto business and be responsible for their expenses and maintenance of it.
I think, Ray, let's just get them, their officers in here,
Yeah.
sit down and say, we want to cooperate with you, but you've got to have somebody who's got to be responsible.
That makes sense.
I mean, if you have an irrigation system, you gotta shut it off.
I don't know what irrigation system they have. That's a new one to me.
It's not.
I don't
No,
know
not
what
this
irrigation
time,
system.
but in
They don't have a
2010,
system.
he had a leak in the irrigation system.
leak in a new irrigation system.
Right.
Look at me. Never seen any sprinklers going off
Well,
down there.
that's what you.
That field is so wet, they don't need it irrigated. I can guarantee that.
Drainage.
That's the greenest grass in town, all year long.
Right, so,
Well, anyway, that's what if Ray makes that as a motion, I'll second.
invite them in next
Invite
month.
them in, we can sit, either invite them in or send them a letter and tell them what we expect of them.
But I would.
Or we shut it off October 1st, period. I would like to make a motion to send them a letter telling them that they need to address those issues first, and how are they going to prevent it from happening in the future.
Before we discuss the,
Whether they want to do that personally, or they want to do that in a written response, we can leave that up to them.
In other words, get their schedule when they think the field will open.
Exactly, we need them to say that we will do this in order to prevent these kinds of things happening in the future. That's what we should have them present to us, to see if it's practical what they're saying, and then we'll talk about it.
Joey, offhand, other than the leaks, what is a regular bill now? Can't be that much.
Oh, their regular bills are quite reasonable, $100 to $300, depending on how much watering they do.
That's for the season?
The only more they're gonna use down there is to make coffee or drinks.
You could be right.
I don't want
I
it
think
to
it's,
feel.
I think it's for the public restrooms, for that's most of it.
They don't have public restrooms, they have porta johns.
Oh, I didn't know that.
unless they put in new.
Oh, yeah. So, you want an official motion? I made a motion that Pam write them a letter and tell them that we expect some sort of reply back from them on how they're going to correct these problems before we take up the issue.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion, any further discussion on that?
I think we've had a discussion.
Yeah.
He chops the meat.
I know.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
It's not a compression.
Okay. G, pension fund rate of return, funding 6.25%. Again.
This on that quick at 5:30. As we talked about before, and Joel had made a motion that we reduce the assumption on a discount rate on the pension from the 775 to the 625. And I went back to the actuary to get what the difference would be. But just so it's clear too, there's 3 years, a calendar year, there's our fiscal year, and then there's a pension year. They all overlap. We really never have anything on the calendar year, except our payroll, W-2s and things like that on the calendar year. But with the overlap of the budget year and the pension year, what I tried to show on this, in the yellow, our current budget year for pension, we're funding 325. That's in the current budget that ends in 2 months. So every month we put in basically 1/12 of that. So during that period we fund 325. Okay. Conversely to that, the budget we just set in green, I didn't put all the months out, but they go out, is 350. So from March again to February of 2016 is 350. In the middle of that, in blue, is our pension year, which goes from July to June. Okay? Under the actuarial report, the funding at 775 is recommended at basically 273,000 for the year. Okay? The 625 assumption bumps that up to 356, which is a difference of 84,000. However, if we continue to fund at the 325 level past the end of the year to the end of the blue, we again will be at 325. So to get to 356, we would just need to increase by 25,000
26.
for the year. So over those last 4 months, I prorate in 25,000 divided by 4 and add it to our budget. So at the end of the blue period, we'll be at 356.
So that would be roughly 31,000 then.
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes it's, in a normal course of events where it used to go up and down, I would fund the 325 so my budget is right, go to the blue and say I only have to be at 273. I might not fund the last few months, so the blue 12 months come out at 273. That's kind of how it works. It works opposite when it goes up. Versus if I'm under budget and have to go to 4, then the last 4 months I increased to get the pension year. So basically, if I continue funding at the 325 level, which I did in the yellow, right through the end of the blue, and add that other 25,000 in those last 4 months, will get us to that 356.
Reiterating my rationale, just in case anyone doesn't remember it. I took the 10-year average and what the actual returns were. It was 6.14. The numbers that you just submitted are in the 6% range overall. I don't have the exact ratio bond versus stocks. But pension, the history that Rhode Island has taught us is that's not something we should play with. Our pension is very well funded. It should stay that way. And we should use our historical data as a guide as opposed to an actuary's projection, which has not been realized. And that is how I came up with it. And I took the 6.14 and rounded it up to the next point. A prudent action, in my opinion, would be in the future to reevaluate the number every year based on the previous 10 years. And the oldest number will fall off, the new number actual will come in, and the numbers will change accordingly. But it won't be wide variances, and it will ensure the health of the pension plan.
And based on the performance for the last 6 months, we'll be lucky to hit the 6%.
We'll see where it goes. I mean,
It's a volatile market. Conservative is, in this case, with this issue, is a much better place for our employees to be.
We wouldn't want to go down
Have
from.
we voted? I don't think it was brought up, and I think, did we vote on this to do it?
I haven't been a fair vote. No, we were gonna go back, from what I remember, I think you're gonna check with the actuaries.
Find out what the differential is, and that's what you give us.
We know what it's gonna cost, so I guess.
So this time, if it's all right with you, I'll make a motion to make the assumption 6.25%. Unless you want.
We're voting on the percentage, not the amount.
Well, the amount,
The
this
percentage
kind of
is
625 equates to a contribution of 356,000
Okay, so.
during the blue period there.
Okay, so rather than the 350, we're gonna make it the 356.
actually rather than 3.25.
Well, wait, the overlap is an overlap of years there.
Okay,
That's why.
that's why I'm asking what,
Right.
what,
When I start to fund the green, okay, the first 4 months of it will be heavy for the 350, but we'll be in the same position a year from now, that those last 4 months, we'll see if we have to increase or decrease.
Right.
So that's how we do it.
But can't we just say that for the purpose of assuming the return on the pension plan, that instead of taking the 7.5 that the actuary
7.75.
had projected, we are going to use 6.25 assumption return for that pension year?
Exactly. That's,
and that contribution will be based on that.
That's correct. That's what the motion should be if we have to.
And then next year, the number should be
it's a more conservative approach to funding it, to make sure we don't get too far behind the 8 ball.
And Rhode Island has a
We
history.
can put anything in we want. You could say put in $500,000 a year, right?
Or you could do like the state did, and not fund it for a couple of years, but none of those things are advisable.
All right, do you have that motion?
I made the
We
motion.
made a motion.
I made a motion.
I will second that motion.
Any,
Assume the rate of return is 6.25.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Very good, Mark.
Thank you, sir.
We're back 100 tonight, Mark.
Thanks for that, Mark, thanks for that, that's a good layout.
Yeah, it's hard to visualize.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were three different meters there.
Item H, vehicle purchases, use of the line of credit.
Yes, we need to purchase a few more vehicles this year. Gave you a sheet, what we've been spending in expenses for some of the vehicles. We've got 2 diesel, the large trucks that have cost us a considerable amount of money. And we figure at this point, at least we need to replace one of them. We just had another problem with it, just had another repair, because we can't go without it for very long. But we need to really do something soon. Again, it's costing us more money than it's worth, so at this point in time, we've reached the limit on the maintenance new cost curves, where it would be much more economical for us to purchase a new vehicle.
Can I ask you?
Ken can actually respond to any questions you have on particular vehicles.
Yeah, I have a question on the vehicle expenses. What is that included? I mean, is that maintenance?
That's maintenance.
Only maintenance?
That's not gasoline.
That's not,
That's all
Other
the oil
expenses.
changes. Those 2 Ford 2008 Fords that you see, you do the research on the web, and it's probably a truck they never should have made. They put a heavy diesel in the front end. It goes through a lot of front end work, but the diesel themselves have required some reasonable repair to them, and it's prevalent through that line when they were made.
that's unusual for the mileage. They have to
Yeah, it was a new
mileage
gen.
for the expensive.
You know, the diesels, it used to be in the old days, you could let diesels run forever, which is what happens on the job, because the guys use it, we power equipment off of the inverters with it, and like on a night where it's 5 degrees out, you're running the heat to be able to keep warm. And diesels used to be, well, now they have a regeneration system in the diesel itself, to where the newer ones are not supposed to run for any length of time unless there's an automatic regeneration and there's a manual. These didn't have, these were the first generation, so they have 60,000 hours on the engines. Unfortunately, they acknowledge it's a bad design. We just had one, as Pam said recently last week, we had a fairly expensive repair that we put the seal back on the engine, and it wouldn't shift out. It's all computerized, so when the engine starts to get a little funny, it wouldn't allow it to shift out of first gear. So
Are these the 2 that you want to replace? These top 2?
want to replace at least one
Just
in the
one of
short
them.
term, the next one next year.
Let's take a
Because,
report, then we don't have to buy Fords.
well, they used to do some of it, they used to honor some of it under warranty. This is not new. This has been going on for a number of years since they were purchased, since they started to get some mileage on them. As soon as we can get rid of both of them, I'll be glad to get rid of both of them. Because what we're seeing in one, we're probably going to see in the other. The task would be taken down to warranty service and say, just get ready, because it's,
I have a question, one of these meter trucks, what is their duty, what do they do?
Well, Ken can answer that too, but these are,
You call these meter trucks,
well, we call them meter trucks. We have one full-size van. We have a Plymouth Voyager, like a Omni van, that we use as one. The goal for those, we have one of the Nitros, those blue 4x4s, which are also not really that functional. The goal to replace those as we go would probably be something like the Ford Transit Connect. You see the
yeah,
plumbers.
I was wondering why you're using the 350 for that, that seems like overkill.
Oh, we're not using the 350 for meter.
Well, looks like those are the ones you want to replace.
one of the 350s and 2 of the meter.
2 meter trucks in meter replacement. We also have 2 of the 350-ton crew trucks. So there's 4 total.
Okay, I see.
One will be the Plymouth Voyager, and then we have a regular full-size van, which is really showing its age, and then there's the 2 350s.
So you're looking to purchase How many vehicles? 4?
Well, we need 4, we're looking to do 3 and push 1 into next year's. Because we're looking to keep a limit of what we're suggesting of $100,000 on the line of credit. Right now, we would owe about $30,000 on the previous vehicles, so we would just have enough funds to buy 3 new vehicles at this point.
And
We have a revenue stream in our capital budget for the payments on an annual payment, but not to fully outright purchase vehicles.
which 3 would you want to be replacing then, on this sheet that you gave us? Would it be the first 2 on the top?
No, yeah.
No, I think we just
Yes,
repaired, we
the
just
first 2
repaired
are
one of the diesels, so we were looking to keep that one for another year.
And one of the 2005 Safari vans. And probably the 2006 Dodge van.
All right. Pam is saying that she wants to keep one of the first 2 trucks. Is that what you're saying?
Right, we'll keep
Keep the one we just
keep
repaired.
one of them for this year. Ultimately, next year we'd like to replace that one also, because we're gonna be seeing those expenses in that.
Looking at the high expenses, it makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
Just-
I move we go with the recommendation of executive.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good.
They're gonna plow them.
Not
One of the
the
rector's driveways.
One by each.
We'll come get you.
No, I don't want one of those.
We'll come get you.
Item I, Personnel Committee, non-union staff salary increase recommendation, I guess.
Okay, the committee met this evening, and we're recommending a 3.25%,
3.25?
3.5% increase for the non-bargaining employees.
Is that the form of motion?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Discussion.
I disagree. Not that the employees aren't very good, they are, and everyone has done a wonderful job this year. As Frank said last year, I really couldn't vote for anything over, last meeting, I couldn't vote for anything over 3%. And to be honest, I never would vote for 3% with any other budget that I was working on. But it has been an outstanding year for the employees, and it would represent a consistency on what we're giving in raises. So I would recommend 3%. So I would have to vote against 3.5.
And Ray?
Again, I agree with Joe, except for the percentage. Unfortunately, I would have to go with a lower percentage, and the reason for that is that we really don't have any backup information. I mean, there was no wage survey, a comparison of other companies to see what Pawtucket or Kent County is paying at this time, or we really don't have any information to judge that on, other than saying, well, we'd like to do this, and we'd like to give them and show them appreciation, but, you know, the compensation packages should be based on some sort of data, I would think.
Brad, any comment from you?
I agree. I
I
agree with that position, that there's not enough reason.
yeah,
Other than they're doing a good job in rewarding, there should be some comparatives, and I also agree on consistency, as Joel stated, relative to across the board pay raises.
I, myself, wouldn't be able to honestly vote for any one of these 4 because I thought there might be some backup from 2012. As I know some employees, their hours were increased, rightfully so. But I was looking for what we had last year, I believe. It was what they were in 2012 or 2011. I know there was 3 or 4 years where there was no raises given to employees who were here at that time. But going forward, how they progressed to where they are now, not so much the individual, but what the overall rate increase was that was approved by the board. in the last 3 years.
Wasn't last year 2.5?
Yes, it was.
That's what I thought. Well, I think the fact that we come here meeting after meeting after meeting, and we say what a wonderful job they're doing, and how things are getting better, that's all the backup I need. I don't have to see figures in front of me.
No.
We're seeing results.
John, everybody has,
I understand, that's my opinion.
and I don't have a problem with that.
But it's an arbitrary number. I don't think it's arbitrary number. I don't think it's arbitrary.
You know, it's a very personal issue for everybody, and it's not an arbitrary number. Everyone has their own criteria they work on in their head. And, you know, my experiences with the town that I was on the appropriations board of, and I know what the school non-union got, I know what the school unions got, I know what the fire got, I know what the police got, I know what the public works got, and this would be at the top end of anyone in Barrington's raises, with the exception of when they made their one-year exemption and gave the town manager the whole store. And outside of that, 3% would be considered an extremely strong raise, 3.5% would be unheard of in Barrington, just what Barrington is, and that's where I'm coming from. And I really don't think I want to compare it with other water districts, because this is the East Bay, and that's that's just my personal rationale.
Well, the reason I say that is you really have, I think you have to look at it because, do we want to be at the top, the highest paid in the state? We want to be at the lowest? No, we don't want to do that either, but you need a comparison to say, okay, this is where we're going to target. We're going to target somewhere maybe in the middle. You know?
I'd just like to see it, just to get an idea.
And his point is that we do come here and say every week how good a job they do. And that's part of my rationale. And I agree with what you're saying, and I would not have suggested 3% if I didn't. So that's what I'm coming to.
No, I'm just saying, it was just helpful to look at. And I would just suggest that maybe we consider a motion just to put it off for a month, and maybe somebody can provide us with just the history of the pay raises for the non-union people over the last 3 years, just so we can take a look at what it's been. And then maybe just take a look at the other authorities, and then make a vote.
Maybe also,
Well,
Is that too much?
I do want to state that, actually, I looked up nationally, the average is 3%. This has been an exceptional year of high demand on our management staff. And they did it without any question, without any grousing, and my insisting that they take vacation time, but they couldn't do it because they had to get this project done. I think it was an exceptional year. They put out the effort, they did the work that needed to be done voluntarily and above and beyond what they were required to do. And I think it should be reflected somehow in a raise.
Mark, you have a,
I just wanted to back up. 2 years ago when we did this, we did supply a study to the board, Pam did, about where we stood compared to the national average and whatever. And there are, you know, for the professional people we have here, we're not, there's some that are in the 10th percentile of the average, you know, some in the 30, 40, 50, some, you know, so it's spread within that range of where we are, you know, for that. But just to dispel that we're not at the top. We're in probably the lower half, in several positions, in you know, the 10th percentile or something like that. And that was based on a 2010 census at that time.
Now, has it been the board's history with regards to the non-union employees, and here there's 9, to give a pay raise across the board to all of them? Or is it two different things?
that's her discretion, that's her discretion. We're voting on the increase and what dollar amount that would lead to.
So that does not translate to a 3% increase to these 9 guys?
That's
Yeah.
Pam's discretion.
Correct. We can't say this person shouldn't get 6 and.
Oh, so we increased it to 3% to a pot, she decides that.
Correct.
Just to clarify too, in the budget, I had 3.5 as a number that was in, was in the budget.
Just to clarify, you wrote that budget, finance committee didn't approve it, that's just.
Right.
Management decided to be a good number,
Just,
so.
just that, we're not going against the budget one way or another.
But with due respect.
No.
You wrote the budget as your rates.
I'm fine.
One thing I just want to comment on what Mark said about national comparison. When they did that, I didn't agree with it then, and I still don't agree with it. We should be looking at Rhode Island in the general area. Rhode Island, maybe Massachusetts too. That, our economic environment is quite different than what it might be up in New York somewhere. So you shouldn't be comparing those figures with people in California or New York. We really need to see what is going on within the number of water companies in our area. And we want to stay competitive, I agree. And yes, we want to show that we appreciate that, but remember, this is the ratepayers' money we're going to be giving away, not ours. So you really have to consider the people that probably have not, like I know for a fact, some people haven't, in private industry, haven't had a raise in 5 years. So not that we want to do that, but those are the people that are paying the bill, and they're going to come back and say that to us if we give this kind of money out. That's what bothers me, so. We should have a comparison to what other companies are doing in our area.
Just a question.
Let me ask a question. Pam, can this be delayed? Or do they have to have a decision?
This takes effect March 1st?
It would be effective as of March 1st, so it can be delayed.
Well,
It's
a comment on that.
not really easy to get a comparison because job titles and job duties are very different across utilities. When you do the national study, it actually looks at hundreds of utilities in our size group. There are very few utilities in New England that are similar to our size group and have very similar positions with position descriptions that are similar. I know in working in 3 of them that they're all very different, and it's very difficult to make direct comparisons.
I have just a comment on part of what Ray said. I understand his feeling, but he says, if we do this, that's what the people are going to come back and get all over us for. We just had a public hearing this month for raising the rates. Not one single person even came here. That doesn't mean they're not feeling it.
I don't think
Oh,
that
I'm not
they're
saying
going to
that.
come back to us with it. I think that, you know, that's not the issue. I do think that it's important that we recognize the extra mile, and in my number, I have it, in my mind, recognizing how much extra work they did. But, you know, 3.5, the number of 3.5 is just the number you guys wrote down on paper, and that's okay.
No, I know, that's,
It just suggested, and everyone comes back with their own opinion on it.
right.
Your dice.
One humorous thing to say. In the last week's Warren Times, and I'm quoting from an article there, where it said VCWA Board votes on water rate hike. Mr. Palmieri said, Board of Director members are doing their best to keep increases down, but have to mind the authority's aging infrastructure. And I was quoted as saying, believe me, we're keeping it down as low as we can. I think you're going to make a liar out of me, that's for sure.
But they didn't even come to the hearings.
Let me ask the Personnel Committee, is there some information that Pam could provide to you where you would have another committee meeting before the board meeting on the 25th, or the same night, like we did tonight, just at an earlier time, that you would need to see,
Okay.
that you would want to see?
One thing, I won't be here at the next meeting, so.
Okay, all right.
Not for me. I'm satisfied with what she presented
Okay.
and what she's explained.
All right. Then should we, should put, make a motion?
Motion's on the floor to
You have to settle the first motion.
go to the
If it
previous.
fails, then you move to the next.
Okay, we have a motion and a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of a 3.5% rate increase for the non-union staff employees, signify by raising their hand. Opposed? And I checked with Pam, and even though this, I believe we need a vote of 5 to pass this.
One for each town.
With 6 of us here, it couldn't be a 4-2, based on, I think, the bylaws that were changed.
Yes.
Joe might correct
Correct,
on
that
that.
they affected. No, the bylaws don't affect where it would need to be
You need
6
5
or
votes.
more.
Five.
Right, you need 5 votes.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what I said.
Yeah.
We couldn't pass this 4-2.
I'm not sure that we'll have a 5 vote for everything in this room.
So if there's something
I'll make a
else,
motion for 3, but I don't think it'll pass with 5.
Before-
make the motion, see. I will make a motion that we offer a vote for a 3% raise.
I'll second.
any discussion? All those in favor of 3% rate increase? Opposed? And again, I'm saying no because I would like some
Well,
information.
then I think that Pam needs to get information for the next meeting, because we can't pass what we have.
But you have to let me know what you're looking for.
I will. Is there anyone here, if someone is looking for something specific, send an email to Pam addressing what you'd like to see, your concerns, and deal with it, each director if they have any questions.
I can say right now,
Well, I know,
Email.
just so that she would know exactly from you what you're looking for, rather than come here next month and say, that's not really what I wanted, or meet with her. Okay, any board correspondence? I didn't see any. I didn't see any yet. Okay. Need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Executive session, contract of executive director, chief engineer, RIGL 42-46.5, parentheses 1.
So moved.
All those signify by raising their hands.
Give me a second. Or I can just take the names. We have a second on that? No, you
We
didn't.
didn't have some, I'm sorry.
I made, I said.
Okay, all right, all those signified going into executive session, please raise your hands. Okay, so when we come out of executive session, that will be it. But we have to come back into,
Yes, if you want to vote on the contract.
if we go to the vote.
You're going to vote to approve the contract. How many votes do you?
Shut it off.